Welcome to the Mandalorians Ramble. As always, I'm your host, Boba Fett. Tonight, we have nobody else joining us. It's just me. But before I get started into today's episode, I just want to say a quick few things before we get into it. I once again want to thank everyone for the support on all the videos and the channel, because it's been amazing. When we came up with the idea for this, we didn't think that we would see as much support as we've received so early on. So from all the fellow Mandalorians that you will be seeing here, we all thank you. And it's something that we never thought would happen. So thank you. Now, as into regards in the last episode, when you heard us referencing us by different names, those are aliases that we have created to, in a way, protect ourselves. So just disregard them if you ever hear them. Just brush it off. One last announcement is, obviously, as you know, we wear helmets. Eventually, the time will come where we will all be having a camera on it, wearing helmets, but that'll be coming in the future, so bear with us until that happens. I could do that tonight. I might at one point during the episode. We'll have to see. But today, I'm going to be discussing Assassin's Creed. And I'm going to be running solo this time around because the fellow Mandalorians haven't played as much Assassin's Creed as I have and don't know as much about it as I do. So yeah, it's just gonna be me tonight. But nonetheless, let's jump in. So I am going to just be talking about all the Assassin's Creed games from 1 up until Mirage. So all those, the DLCs, and just basically talking about all of them. So why don't we jump right in? So the game that started it all, Assassin's Creed 1, where we play as Master Assassin Altair Ibn Ahad, and that is how you say his name. This game, started off the whole franchise. It put us in the middle of the Third Crusade during the 11th century. It was this really interesting stealth-focused game where you didn't want to go in combat, and it was really good for its time, and obviously it evolved over the years into one of the best franchises, at least in my opinion. But 1 did so much. It had a great story, but it had its flaws for the time, being on older systems. But it was a great game. So what else about Assassin's Creed 1? We had to do all these assassination missions. Keep in mind, it's been a long time since I've played some of these games, so I will try the best of my ability to, recollect what has happened. But there's really not much to say about Assassin's Creed 1, so I'm going to jump right into one of what people consider to be the best ones, Assassin's Creed 2, where we are thrown in to the Italian Renaissance playing, and we are introduced to a fan favorite character, one of my favorites, Ezio Auditore de Firenze. And just going into it and exploring Ezio's story and seeing him become, an assassin, because you kind of see that him training and stuff in this one. And I mean, the story is amazing. You can't forget about cousin Mario. Like the other one, it took everything great about Assassin's Creed 1 and made it better. I mean, the story was amazing. Ezio was a great character. The Italian Renaissance was a cool and unique time period to explore where a lot of things were happening. We saw Leonardo da Vinci. And also, in all these games, we obviously introduced to the most iconic weapon in the Assassin's Creed franchise, the Hidden Blade. Now, if you remember the Hidden Blade in the first one, and you can see it in some other games, in order to use it correctly in the beginning, you had to cut off your ring finger for the blade to work. Now, on technicality, that isn't necessarily true, but most commonly they did it at the time to prove your devotion to the creed, or not the creed, the Assassin Brotherhood. But later, Altair, the protagonist from the first one, modified the Hidden Blade to not have to do that, where you could use it without having to cut off your ring finger or the potential of losing it. And so yeah, though we saw that as later on, you didn't have to have that ring finger, because eventually people started to catch on and be like, oh, you're an assassin, because they could just see that, oh, he doesn't have a ring finger, so he must be an assassin. So it was later modified. And we see that in 2 with Leonardo da Vinci telling Ezio about it and made like a funny joke out of it, like going to cut off his finger. Which is a cool, unique thing, kind of explored. Move over to Assassin's Creed 2. Well, not Assassin's Creed 2, I'm sorry. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which was, yet again, the continuation of Ezio's story, where, he goes to Rome to take down the Templar Order there and created the Assassin Brotherhood in Rome. Brotherhood is widely considered like the best game. I mean, it's up there for me, but it's not my favorite, which we'll get into later on. In this game, we just see Ezio become insanely deadly and one of the most deadliest assassins. A cool, unique feature that was made into this game was the kill streak feature, where once you kill one enemy, you can just quickly in succession kill the next. And the combat was still a little challenging, required a little more skill, but it was fun. The story, yet again, was amazing. The cool feature where you could call in an assassin to like come quickly help you was really cool. And I mean, all around, it was just a great game. Not keep in mind, I just remember this, I do want to like rank each game out of 10, so I'm gonna quickly go back to 1. If I had to give 1 a rating out of 10, maybe like a 7. I mean, it was one that started it. Was it amazing? No. But was it a good time? And it was great? Yes. 2, I'd say, is an 8. 2 did everything better. Brotherhood, I definitely maybe like 9, 9.5, because it was just absolutely amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's just great. And then the next one that would come after that is Assassin's Creed Revelations, the final game in the Ezio trilogy. And interestingly enough, he is the only character that did get 3 games. I think it would have been interesting to see some other characters explore that, but we'll eventually get into like what other characters I think should get another game. Revelations, well, it was a good one, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't comparable to like 2 and Brotherhood, which were far better. At this point, Ezio's like an old man, and he is in Constantinople looking for Altair's hidden library, looking for like pieces of Eden. And I mean, obviously, at the end of the game, he does eventually find it, but he runs into their brotherhood there. And the cool thing is, a unique thing that was in this game was in one of like his fights, his one of his hidden blades was broken. So he got like a hook blade, which helped him do like parkour and the blinds and stuff, which was a unique feature. I mean, it's a good game, but I mean, it's not comparable to like the other ones. I had a fun time playing it. Um, I would probably give it like a 6.5. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but it was still a good time. And moving on to, I think this was the first one I actually played, was Assassin's Creed 3. And honestly, I think Assassin's Creed 3 gets a little too much hate for what it is. I don't know why. I mean, there's so many great things about Assassin's Creed 3, in my opinion. We have a pivotal part in American history where this game is set, being in the American Revolution. The combat is absolutely amazing. We get the tomahawk and some Connor, our protagonist Connor, is an absolute killing machine. Well, we do play as Hatham in the beginning, his father. I think the reason why like Assassin's Creed 3 might get a bad rap, it's because it's it has a very slow start, which I can agree it's kind of boring. But once you get past that, I mean, and really get into it, I think it's an absolutely amazing game. The story just takes off drastically. And I think Connor is a really interesting character. I mean, while yes, you can argue that he really doesn't have a personality besides killing, which I do somewhat agree. I think it's just amazing, and he's a good character. Not a great character, but I mean, even like you can just tell Connor's a killing machine, because at one point, he gets hit by like a cannonball and then bites his father and kills him while like mortally wounded, which is just shows you how powerful. Now there was a follow-up DLC called The Tyranny of George Washington for Assassin's Creed 3. I have really yet to play it, so I can't really form too much of an opinion. I played it briefly and I've seen it. It looks interesting. So maybe I can bring that up later on down the line in something else once I play that, or I'll just update you guys or whatever about that. Moving on, well, before I move on, out of 10, I would most likely feel comfortable giving Assassin's Creed an 8.5. Assassin's Creed 3 about an 8.5. So now moving on to my personal favorite game of the franchise, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Well, Black Flag is by any means not a masterpiece. I mean, I don't really think any of the games are. Some of them come close, and for me, that is Assassin's Creed 4. One of my favorite things are pirates. I absolutely love the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. And to, kind of be a pirate in this game is amazing. Edward Kenway, I think, is probably one of the best protagonists or characters in the franchise. He's just a badass and all that. The ship combat was absolutely amazing. I mean, just the whole pirate aspect was fantastic. We actually got to see some pivotal pirate characters, like, the notorious Blackbeard, or aka Edward Teach. We had Mary Reed, who commonly dressed up as a boy to fool people to be able to do things in the world. It just, the combat was absolutely amazing and everything. You could say that it was a little easy, but it was just so much fun. Every aspect of that game was amazing to me. The history, all of it was just so amazing. And I wish we had more of Edward, but Obviously, that did not happen. There was a, however, there was a DLC for the game called Freedom Cry where you got to play as Adewale, who was the quartermaster of Edward during the game. Eventually, he left to, really devote himself to the Brotherhood. And while this campaign is not a campaign, well, I guess kind of like campaign of the DLC was short, it was quite fun in a way. I mean, you like liberated, like the whole point was like kind of liberating slaves and stuff. But the different weapon, like you had like the machete in it versus the dual swords was fun. It was a little more brutal actually, which was interesting. I mean, we obviously had the blunderbuss, which if you, for the people who don't know, a blunderbuss is more or less like a flintlock shotgun, and a lot of times you could just like stuff anything into the barrels, whether you want it to be like nails or anything. Didn't always have to be like one of the balls that they would use for a gun, like the ammunition like that. So it was fun to use those different weapons. Now after Assassin's Creed 4, I don't know why they stopped like labeling them as numbers, but moving on, there are no more numbered ones. It's just like a name. It's the Assassin's Creed title and a name. So I mean, 4, absolutely loved everything about it. I still play from time to time, just go on and be a pirate, and yeah. Honestly, I mean, I am tempted to give Black Flag a 10 out of 10, but it does have its issues, so I'm gonna go a 9.5. Absolutely love Black Flag. Moving over, I can either talk about Rogue or Unity. I'm gonna go for Rogue first. Rogue and Unity both came out at the same time in 2014. This was like right when the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and all that stuff were coming out. So what Ubisoft decided to do was they decided to release 2 games the same year. Assassin's Creed Rogue was released onto the 360 and PlayStation 3 exclusively, while Unity was released on the new generation of consoles at the time. And I'll get to Unity in a minute. Rogue was an interesting game where, not obviously commonly, we're used to playing as the assassins fighting the Templars, where in Rogue, Ubisoft thought it would be a good idea to turn the tide and us play as a Templar, which was a good choice. I mean, Rogue the story was crazy, being this Templar who was like hunting down like assassins, and that Templar that you play as Shay Patrick Cormac in the story is originally a an assassin who defected after going to achieve a piece of Eden and destroyed a town. He didn't agree with the Brotherhood anymore, so defected to the Templars. And it was just crazy to see this, like, you becoming this like basically ultimate assassin hunter, and it was really cool to see. I mean, you could also argue the flaws of Rogue being it plays basically almost identical to its predecessor Black Flag, being that like the combat's basically the same thing, the ship combat's the same thing. I mean, the settings were different. Like you had different areas you could go to, where Black Flag was mainly just the West Indies. So you had all kinds of different areas. You had like this whole like snow area, like the North Atlantic. Because this game, its time period was set during kind of like the colonial era. It was pre Assassin's Creed Day, which is the American Revolution. And yeah, it was really interesting because Hatham's alive at the same time Connor's father, also who Connor Kenway, Hatham Kenway, and Edward Kenway are related. Funnily enough, Edward Kenway is Hatham's father, and then Hatham's son is Connor. So Connor is Edward's grandchild, which is something unique. I feel like not a lot of people pick up on within the franchise. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about Rogue. I enjoyed the game; it was good, but it was very similar to Black Flag gameplay wise. But the story was really fun. Actually, you at one point you do kill Adewale from Assassin's Creed 4. He is one of the assassins that you do kill. I gotta admit, it was kind of dramatizing for me because I really did enjoy Adewale as a character, so it was hard for me to kill him. But obviously, you have to for the sake of the story. Now, Assassin's Creed Unity. This was the one that was released onto the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Unity is an interesting one, to say the least. At launch, it was terrible. Absolutely awful. The game had so many game-breaking glitches where, to a certain extent, it was almost unplayable. And it was rough. It was really bad. But eventually Ubisoft fixed that, and Unity became one of the coolest Assassin's Creed games. While I wasn't a fan of the combat in Unity, I thought it was, quite challenging. But I've never really got too good at it. I mean, I got to the point where I can, beat the story and all that. But, I mean, everything else about Unity was fantastic. I mean, the stealth was pretty cool. You had, like, a lot of unique tricks up your sleeve. Like, you had the Phantom Hidden Blade, which is, like, kind of like a mini crossbow at the same time with the hidden blade, which was really an interesting take. But, I mean, I think the main thing that sets Unity as one of the best is its parkour system. It's just done so fluently, and I mean, it is just absolutely amazing. You know what? I'm actually, just to really show, we're not going to share my screen. I'm just going to pull up a quick video of Unity parkour because it's just incredible. The story was amazingly, we were set in the French Revolution, which was obviously inspired after the success of the American Revolution. And Arno turned out to be a good character. And it was just absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at like how, you'll see later on like how fluent and just, I mean, even the graphics of this game on this new, on the new generation of consoles is just beautiful. The setting and the city, unlike other places, it really feels alive. Where other games, it's just kind of like, there are a couple of people here or there, depending on where you go. It's, there's never really been that many people. I mean, you also, in the story, you do take place in some key moments in the French Revolution, of the storming the Bastille, which is really cool. I mean, in other Assassin's Creed games, you are part of like pivotal moments. But I didn't get into those, but I mean, just want to talk about it in Unity because it's just so crazy. I mean, like there's people all over the streets and everything. Unity was just really good. It's just the combat that just holds it back a little bit for me. But everything else about Unity, I think, is absolutely amazing. Especially this parkour, which you guys can see now, and it's just crazy. So I'm not gonna watch it for 9 minutes. I just wanted to show you guys as like an example to show you how beautiful this was and how revolutionary it was. It's a shame we never got something like this again, where I feel like after this the parkour just kind of fell off and just became a little slow. And I might show you another example of that later on. So we're gonna stop this for now. we're gonna leave this. So, moving on to the next game, which was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which was set during the Victorian age of London. Like, not Victorian. Well, kind of. It was set in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. A Syndicate, I kind of enjoyed, but also didn't at the same time. Whereas the combat, they went from a little more brutal kind of feel to it, was like brawler and brutal, because which was interesting, but it just wasn't all that fun to me. It was just kind of annoying, if you know what I mean. And the story was, alright. I felt personally that the two protagonists you play as, Evie and Jacob Fry, two twin assassins, I feel like they're just kind of boring. And the whole system where you could kind of sneak around by pressing a button, where you could, especially with Jacob, where you could wear a top hat and then put on a hood, was kind of cool. But then again, it doing that, they didn't really have your traditional look of an assassin. They kind of just looked like these really fancy looking people, who are assassins, if you know what I mean. And it didn't feel right to me. So yeah, while in Assassin's Creed, we got, in the Syndicate, we got introduced to the zipline launcher, where I just feel like it just took away the purpose from parkour. You could just basically use your zipline, the parkour is just oh yeah, here it is. And it wasn't as obviously fluent and awesome like Unity was, like you guys just saw. While yes, it kind of had some flair to it, but not like Unity. The gang aspect was quite cool. How you kind of form Jacob forms this gang of his, because he always dreamed of having a gang, especially, and he did that in London, which was kind of a cool aspect. But I just thought Syndicate was kind of boring, and I didn't really have much going for it for me, to be honest. At this point in this episode, I am going to change things up a little bit and kind of give you, the audience, a sneak preview of what the future is going to be like for this podcast here that we are doing for you guys, where we wear the helmets of our armor. Keep in mind, we're obviously not going to have our armor on, because obviously there's no point for now. But I am, for the first time, this won't happen for a while. This is going to be one of the only episodes that it happens for the foreseeable future. I am going to put on the camera for now. So, here we go. Obviously, as you can see, I am now wearing this helmet. And I will continue this for the remainder of the episode. So, we have a couple of games left after Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So, Assassin's Creed Syndicate came out in 2015. And Ubisoft decided to take a year break to focus on their next game, which was Assassin's Creed Origins. They did this because there was a lot of complaints about the Assassin's Creed falling to a formula where they just kind of fell off and got quite bad, so they wanted to take time to really focus on the next one and make it amazing. which is what they did for Assassin's Creed Origins. While Assassin's Creed Origins had many complaints, it was breathtaking. It started to go into a route of becoming an RPG, which wasn't received well for most fans, obviously me being one of them, but I really enjoyed Origins. But in that gap of a year, in 2016, we did not get Assassin's Creed stuff. We had the Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which were in China, India, and Russia. Those games are just 2D, but I'm not going to talk about those because they're not that good in my opinion. They're cool, but I think I also realized you can see the reflection of the video in the visor, so I will try to eliminate that. Also in 2016, we got the Assassin's Creed movie, which, I'm not gonna lie to you, was not good. So, we're just not gonna talk about those two things. So we're gonna move on right over to Origins. Origins was set in, I think, one of the most beautiful time periods, being ancient Egypt. And the cool thing about Origins is it set up, it told us how the Assassin's Brotherhood was formed, and that originally it was called the Hidden Ones, which I think was a very unique thing and a unique story to follow. We follow a Magi of Siwa known as Bayek, and my god, Bayek was an absolutely amazing character. Everything about him was amazing, and I think he was one of the best protagonists up there with Edward. It's a shame that we didn't get more of him. Like I previously said, Ezio was the only one who got more than one game. Originally, it was Bayek who was supposed to get a sequel. Not originally. Bayek was supposed to get one, but that didn't happen. But let's talk about Assassin's Creed Origins a little more. The setting was beautiful. We got to see how the Hidden Ones were formed. We fought the Order of the Ancients, who later become the Templars. They also incorporate Egyptian mythology in there too. You have some gods that you can fight. 3 of them were Sekhmet, Anubis. What was the other one? If it comes to me, I'll remember. I'll tell you. But which was really cool. You obviously had one of the 7 wonders of the world, the pyramids of Giza. The combat was interesting. It was more like an RPG style, but it wasn't too crazy. Where it was playable, because I'm not a big RPG person. But I tolerated it, and it's just that origin story just knocks the game out of the park. And it introduced us to one of the largest maps in Assassin's Creed, because you could explore a good portion of Egypt, and the game did kind of end with the assassination of Julius Caesar. So it does have pivotal moments in history inside of the game, but it was just crazy. And absolutely love the Orange. I realized I stopped ranking them. Sorry about that. I know I said I would. So I'll try to continue from here on out. Origins, I have to give it a 9 out of 10. There are also 2 DLCs for Assassin's Creed Origins as well. The first one, I think it was called the Hidden Ones. Actually, let's look that up real quick so I just know what I'm talking about. I know the second one was the Curse of the Pharaohs. But I don't remember the name of the first one, so we're just gonna quickly Google that. I mean, oh, sorry. The DLCs for the game just kind of expanded. You know, we obviously got to play his bike again. Which was amazing. I mean, it just made me love his character even more. Yeah, it was the hidden ones. And, it just expanded his character. We got him in a different place helping out his former wife, Amunet. Fix a problem. Dealing with more order members in a different area than Egypt. And, it just was amazing. And there's so many amazing weapons and stuff. It just expanded the story and brought it to a different place. But I think out of the two DLCs that we got for Origins, my personal favorite was the second one, the Curse of the Pharaohs. It was really unique, where we got to go to the city of Thebes, which for all the Greek people out there, Greek culture and all that would know of Thebes, where it was under this curse of pharaohs coming back from the dead, and you had to travel to the Egyptian underworld in a sense, and go to the Duat, the Field of Reeds, which was absolutely beautiful. And there was just so many beautiful parts in Origins, and just all of them, the story, the main story, the two DLCs. But it just really, really shined in Curse of the Pharaohs, in my opinion. And Origins is just fantastic. Now, moving on to the Assassin's Creed that I call my personal hell. That being Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's for a long time I couldn't play it. I absolutely hated Odyssey. But eventually I'm decided, you know what, I'm gonna suck it up, I'm gonna go through it. Yeah. I wound up enjoying Odyssey a lot more than I thought I would, but my main problem with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, in all the games, you're an assassin. Odyssey, you're not. You're a mercenary. And there's no hidden blade, but the reasoning for that is because it predates the hidden blade. The first ever use of the hidden blade happens after Odyssey's story. So to me, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. And it took Origins, it's RPG style, and basically more or less made Odyssey a full-blown RPG Assassin's Creed game, which I don't think that's what Assassin's Creed should be. Based off all the other games, it never has been, and it shouldn't be. But that's what we got. Well, I think Odyssey is the worst Assassin's Creed game in the franchise. I still enjoyed it. I think Odyssey would have been better if you took away the Assassin's Creed name, and it was just a Greek RPG, an RPG set in a Greek world, if you know what I mean. The Greek mythology aspects were amazing. We got to fight some the Greek creatures, like the Cyclops, the Minotaur. They did a lot of, and the map was significantly larger than anything we've ever seen. And it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All the weapons were cool and unique, the armors. But I mean, with that, it just didn't feel like Assassin's Creed to me, and that's why I didn't like it. In that sense, um, I mean, I can go on and on about how I don't like Odyssey as an Assassin's Creed game, but just to save that, I'm not going to. What I want to do, briefly talk about, is how much the parkour system changed and how just unoriginal it felt with those games, to the point where, you could just climb up anything. Like, you just climb straight up a mountain. And it just didn't feel like Assassin's Creed with that, too. I mean, that happened with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, which we'll talk about after this one. But we'll do the, I know I spelled Origins wrong, but bear with me. So obviously we're not going to watch the whole video here. Just going to jump in. Like, I mean, yes, it can be kind of lame, but it just kind of, if you see what I mean here, it's not like Unity's. I mean, it just kind of feels a lot, as you can see, it like looks a lot slower, it plays a lot slower, and it doesn't have as much flair as Unity did. And let's see if there's any point of, just in this video where they climb up like a cliff, because that is something you can do. We have an ad, so I think that's where we're going to stop. Obviously, we have Snoop Dogg, legendary. Get rid of that. Both games were great in their own sense. It's just the parkour just kind of fell. Now Odyssey didn't have 2 DLCs. The first one was the Legacy of the First Blade, which we meet the character Darius, who was the first person ever recorded to use the Hidden Blade, although we don't know if he was the first person to create it, but he was the first person to use it. So, I mean, we did get a Hidden Blade, but it wasn't till the DLC, and you didn't even get to use it, which was a shame. Also the fact that in Odyssey, you just become overpowered as hell, because the character you play is either Cassandra or Alexios. You find out that you're a demigod, basically. You're like half god. And just not really a good take. I mean, and the cool thing though, Assassin's Creed Unity gave us the first ever opportunity to pick our character, whether we wanted to be Cassandra, who was the female character, or Alexios, who was the male. When I played through the game, I chose Cassandra because out of the 2 options, she is the canon choice for the story. So the one like in the Assassin's Creed history, because all games are more or less connected. She is the one who is going to be the correct choice, so to speak. And I mean, Alexios' voice actor is just terrible. But that's besides the point. Moving on to the final DLC, and each DLC was split into like kind of 3 smaller DLCs, the episodes. The third one was the Fate of Atlantis, and this one was really cool because you started out, it really kind of dove into Greek mythology, which is a really cool aspect, and I enjoyed that. In the first episode, you are meet Persephone and like her own. I forget what the, not as well versed in Greek mythology as in Norse. you meet Persephone and you're with her and you figure out what's going on with her. Do all this. Eventually, by the second episode, you go into the underworld to meet Hades. You fight Cerberus, which was really cool. And you meet Hades, Charon, the ferryman of the dead. And just being in the underworld is really cool to see. And by the third episode, you meet Poseidon and are in the ancient city of Atlantis, which was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I mean, it was done well. It's just, again, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. It just feels more or less like an ancient Greek RPG game. But I've rambled on enough about Odyssey. And there's still 2 more games to get to. Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. While Ubisoft listened to the fans after Odyssey, and we did get the Hidden Blade back, although you couldn't one-shot assassinate people, which was kind of weird. You could, but you had to do this quick time event and just... And like Odyssey, in Valhalla, you didn't feel like an assassin because you weren't. You were a Viking named Eivor. And the story was just way too long, and it just got really repetitive. But I don't hate the game. I don't. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the DLC. I enjoyed the, Viking aspect, because it takes place in a key moment in history where the Vikings invaded England, and more or less kind of tried to take over and raid everything, which was cool. But now like Odyssey, you pick between a male and a female character. Now, in Odyssey, it was clear which one was the correct canon choice for the story. Odyssey is where it gets interesting because you play as Eivor, and Eivor's last name is Varenstolter, which translates to the daughter of Varen. Now you're thinking, the female character is the correct choice. Well, yes, you would technically guess correctly. Now there's a third option when going into the game. You can let the Animus choose who you play as. If you do that for a majority of the game, you will play as female Eivor, and like Alexios, the voice acting is awful. And I chose male Eivor this time around. But Eivor is Odin, the god of the Aesir, king of the Aesir in Norse mythology. It's basically the Zeus of Norse mythology. He's a reincarnation of Odin. Obviously, Odin is not a female. So when you have flashbacks of Odin, and also in Valhalla, there is side missions you can do where you go to Asgard and Jotunheim. So you have what the Animus choose. In those scenarios, you play as male Eivor, and towards the end of the story, you play as male Eivor. So it's kind of confusing of which one is the correct one, because in a way they're both correct. I mean, yeah, it's weird. But they had some very unique weapons in Valhalla, some of them being iconic weapons from Norse mythology, like the legendary hammer that Thor wielded, Mjolnir, which was really cool, and you had to really work for it, which was annoying, but once you were able to pick up Mjolnir, it felt worth it. So that was really rewarding. You were also able to acquire Thor's spear, Gungnir. Not Thor's spear, I'm sorry, Odin's spear, Gungnir. And it was really the most OP weapons, because it would extend its range, which was really cool. And another really cool and unique weapon, being in London, it dove into the myth of King Arthur with Excalibur. And by doing certain tasks in the game, you could, in fact, wield Excalibur. So basically, Eeyore had the right to rule all of England, which was cool. Excalibur was a cool, unique weapon that they added. But like I said, the story was just way too long. Combat was a little bit better than Odyssey's. They kind of toned it down a little bit, but it still, really didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game, even though you had a hidden blade. But that's not what those two games were going for, in my opinion. Yeah. Onto the DLCs. Valhalla had 3 DLCs compared to the 2 that we've seen before in the last 2 games. And you had the Wrath of the Druids, which was the first one. That one was a little weird, if you ask me. It was, like these druidic people went to, I believe it was Ireland. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I don't feel like looking up this time. It was, I didn't really enjoy it. I feel like the story was okay. I mean, we didn't really get introduced into anything new like some DLCs would do. But they did add, by defeating all like the Order members, well, they're this new version of the Order of Ancients, or known as the Templars. If you defeated all of them, you would get this new spear called the Gaebald, which would like shoot this like basically electricity like after a couple hits, and compared with Gungnir, Odin's spear, it was just, you were just insanely overpowered, like you just do an insane amount of damage, so it kind of made the game a little too easy, so to speak. The only reason for that DLC is to get that weapon. So, yeah. Then we move over to Siege of Paris, which was another interesting one, but, Valhalla's DLCs just didn't really hit so much. You kind of help fight in Paris, like stop like kind of like a rebellion, I think. We did get introduced to the scythe weapons, which were pretty unique and they were fun to use. Obviously, you could dual wield all these weapons, especially two-handed weapons, which is cool. But I didn't really never use the scythe. I either like stuck to a sword, something like that. I think swords are just simple and easy to use. The story was kind of fun. We had some cool unique armor sets. We did get introduced to a lot of new one-handed swords as well that were really good. But I think where Valhalla really shined, in my opinion, was its 3rd DLC, and it was massive, was the Dawn of Ragnarok, where it jumped in to the Norse mythology aspect of Valhalla, which it followed, where you play as Odin, or in the game they call him Havi, which is just another name for Odin in mythology. And you go to Svartalfheim to stop like the invasion of Super, the fire giant. You had like ice giants invading. It was really amazing. The stamps, like the story and everything was just so cool. Like, it really shows how brutal and crazy, like, Odin can be. It's not like brutal, but that's like, she's like how much anger can get to Odin. All the Norse mythology stuff was really cool. Valhalla was one of the big selling points for me. We got to see like Fenrir, a lot of the Norse gods like Tyr, Freya, Loki. It was all really cool. But Dawn of Ragnarok was just cool because it kind of leads into Ragnarok. Although we didn't get to see Ragnarok, it would have been cool if we did. You go to rescue Balder. Odin's son. That's why you go there to rescue his son. And we also get introduced to the new weapon, the Atgeir, which was kind of in a way, like if you guys don't know what it is, it's like a two-handed, similar to like an axe, but not. If you know what Agri is, you can look it up. Yeah, and it was cool. I don't really have much else to say about Valhalla. I mean, Valhalla is one of my favorites because of Vikings. I love Vikings, and because of the Norse mythology aspect as well. I absolutely love that. Now we move over to the newest game, Assassin's Creed Mirage. I haven't, since it just came out, I haven't played too much of it. I'm still working on playing it right now. From what I've seen, or from what I've played, it's okay. I mean, originally the whole concept of this game was just supposed to be a fourth DLC for Valhalla, where we play as Basim, who was in the game as like an assassin. You get to play as him like before Valhalla, and it's just kind of bland. I mean, parkour still feels really slow. It would be really awesome to see Unity's parkour system. It does, in fact, go back to the original, the first couple games where stealth is the main focus. And they implement a lot of stealth elements. But then again, it's still not nearly as good as the originals. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, the teleporting feature is kind of weird, and also really interesting at the same time. It's like, at that point, it doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed either. But it really is a cool and unique concept that they added, and I can always update you guys more on Mirage once I'm done with the game and all that. The combat's a little challenging, like where you really want to focus on stealth. But that is all I have for this episode. So I hope you guys enjoy, and stay tuned for the next one. I know we said that the next one would be us talking about Rockstar games, but I just wanted to throw this one in here because I love Assassin's Creed, and next one I will be accompanied by Bo and Din, and some other people as well, potentially. Yeah, obviously this isn't going to happen all the time. It will in the foreseeable future, but I just wanted to show you guys what it would be like what this would seem like. But yeah, be sure to please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. So, peace out.